Today is the 29th of April 2026. Yesterday, I spoke about the benefits of accurate aiming and explained how it helps in dealing with slot and turple. I also mentioned that effort is needed to overcome these states. This is not just the initial effort, but a second level of effort, that is uplifting or boosting effort. Boosting or uplifting effort becomes especially important when meditators face difficulties such as boredom, laziness, challenges, and particularly strong unpleasant sensations. In this section, I explained how to work with unpleasant sensation and how to strengthen and elevate your effort. In fact, great willingness or the willing power are required to sit through unpleasant experiences and to increase your effort. The more you try, the stronger your effort becomes. The more you try, the stronger your effort becomes. Not only does your effort grow, but your patience, your mental stamina, and concentration also become stronger. At the beginning, you may be able to tolerate the pain for only 5 minutes. However, if you continue practicing and gradually train yourself to sit through it, you will be able to endure it for 10 minutes, then 15, 20, and even an hour. Eventually, you will find it much easier to face unpleasant sensations. Without patience, a meditator will change posture immediately as soon as unpleasant sensation arise. They will keep moving, shifting, and adjusting their posture frequently, perhaps many times within just 1 hour. And as a result, they will not be able to develop concentration, and without concentration, there can be no wisdom. There can be no wisdom. On other hand, with patience, a meditator is able to endure and observe unpleasant sensation without reacting. And by applying boosting of effort and patience, when one learns to sit through discomfort, a natural sense of confidence begins to arise. Something like, oh, I can do this. This confidence become a powerful inner support. The next time a similar pain arises, whether in the same spot or elsewhere, the meditator can face it with a composed mind, thinking, oh, I have already been through this kind of pain before. In this way, both patience, both patience and past experience reinforce the part of inner strength, concentration, and insight. The more often you sit through pain, the more your effort is uplifted, and the stronger your patience, your confidence become. For instance, when you fight an opponent in boxing and defeat him once, you naturally gain confidence. You naturally gain confidence, thinking, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do this. The next time you face the same opponent, you will approach the fight with greater self-assurance, thinking, like, I have already beaten him before. In the same way, the more opponents you defeat, the more your confidence grows. Later you will reach a point where you can face unpleasant sensation like an experienced fighter facing an opponent and say like, oh, come on, I'm ready. With each challenge you have overcome, your patience, your determination and confidence have grown. Unpleasant sensations are no longer something to fear or avoid, but they become opportunities to deepen your practice, So eventually they even become good friends, because they help you grow, strengthen your mind, and lead you toward true insight. And patience is not only essential during meditation, it is equally important in everyday life. It is one of the fundamental qualities needed for a peaceful and happy life, whether in a relationships, work, or facing challenges. Patience allows us to respond wisely rather than react impulsively. So, with great willpower and effort should be made each time you face difficulties or challenges. Despite applying the techniques mentioned yesterday, like changing the perceptions towards the unpleasant sensation, uh, accepting unpleasant sensation, not having expectation, and then zooming into the unpleasant sensation, at times zooming out or playing zoom in and zoom out game. Despite applying these techniques, if you still find it difficult to face the pain directly, you can use another helpful approach, uh, like contemplation or motivation. One effective form of contemplation is the reflection on the loathsomeness of the body. We call it in Pali Asubha Bhavana. Asubha Bhavana. This contemplation helps reduce attachment and identification with the body, and in turn makes the pain less personal and less overwhelming. You may contemplate all 32 parts of the body or only some of them. For example, this body consists only of blood, sweat, mucus, urine, and so on. Mentally visualize and reflect repeatedly. Mentally visualize and reflect repeatedly. Oh, this body consists only of blood, sweat, mucus, urine. This body consists only of blood, sweat, mucus, urine, and so on. And this contemplation breaks down the illusion of me, my, pleasing, unpleasing, permanent, and weakens identification and attachment. If that does not work, you may instead contemplate the truth of death. The truth of death, Marananusati in Pali. Marananusati. Marananusati means mindfulness of death or contemplation of death. It is a powerful meditation that helps reduce attachment or ego clinging and fear, while increasing urgency, sense urgency, mindfulness, and wisdom. When facing physical pain, reflecting on the truth of death can shift your perspective. Like, this body is not permanent. This body is not permanent. Pain is part of the process of being alive, and one day this body will no longer exist. So why cling it or fear in discomfort? So in this way, your perspective will change. So the way of basic reflection is, you may begin by reminding yourself, like, I'm subject to die. I'm subject to die. Death is certain. The time of death is uncertain. It may come after 1 year, after 6 months, after 3 months, after 1 month, or after 15 days, after 1 day, within the next 24 hours. within 12 hours, within 1 hour, within 30 minutes, or even within 1 minute, or even in the next second, uh, the body is subject to decay and cannot be controlled. You can repeat this gently in your mind during meditation, especially when pain becomes intense. So reflect on the universality of death. Universality of death. Everyone who has ever lived has died or will die, regardless of their health, power, wealth, or knowledge. So this helps reduce the sense of isolation and unfairness that often comes with suffering. It brings a sense of humility and connection with the human condition. Connection with the human condition. At this point, I would like to share a short story with you. There was a woman named Kisa Gautami. I repeat, Kisa Gautami. When she went to live with her husband's family, they looked down on her, saying that she was the daughter of a poor family. Later, she gave birth to a son, and with the birth of the child, they began to honor and respect her. But unfortunately, when the boy was still young, running about and playing, he died. Because of this, intense grief arose in her. She thought, before I was despised, but from the time my son was born, I received honor. And now these people are trying to throw my son's body away. Overwhelmed by sorrow, she lost her sanity. She lost her sanity carrying the dead body of her child in her arms. She went from house to house in the city, saying, please give me medicine for my son. Please give me medicine for my son. People mocked her, saying, where could there be such medicine? But she paid no attention to what they said. So from the modern perspective, we would call her mentally ill or mad. Indeed, it is a kind of madness. Where did this madness come from? It arose from attachment. It arose from attachment to her son, along with sorrow and delusion. Along with sorrow and delusion. She was overwhelmed by lust, delusion, and grief. The very forms of madness. I mentioned the day before yesterday. The day before yesterday. Sorrow often arises from attachment. Sorrow often arises from attachment, our emotional investment in people, animals, objects, or even ideas. The stronger the attachment, the stronger the potential for sorrow when when loss, change, or harm occurs. The stronger the attachment, the stronger the sorrow. For example, countless people die every day. Countless people die every day, yet we usually don't feel deep sorrow because we have no personal connection to them. We don't have. But when someone we love, family, friends, or even a pet dies, we experience grief because we are attached. Over time, even strangers can become meaningful to us, and as attachment develops, so does our vulnerability to lose. This applies not only to living beings but also to possession or things we value. When they are damaged or lost, we feel distress. We feel distress. So attachment gives rise, but not only to sorrow but also to fear. When we become attached to someone or something, we develop a sense of like dependence on it for our happiness, identity, or stability. Because of this, we begin to fear losing it. We begin to fear losing it, harming it, or being separated from it. The stronger the attachment, the stronger the fear. Fear of loss, fear of change, fear of rejection, and even fear of death in some cases. For example, when we deeply love someone, that love brings warmth and meanings, but it also brings an underlying fear, the fear that something might happen to them or that the relationship might change. Similarly, attachment to status, possession, or personal achievement can create anxiety about losing them or not maintaining them. In this way, attachment creates a cycle, like we fear losing. If lose happens, we suffer. We hold on, we fear losing. If if loss happens, we suffer. That is why Buddha said from attachment arises sorrow. From attachment arises sorrow. Because when we lose what we are attached to, or when it changes, we experience grief. From attachment also arises fear because we become anxious about losing what we value, what we value, whether it is a person or relationship or position or even an idea about ourselves. The stronger that attachment, the stronger both the sorrow and the fear. It is also there is also one reason why it can be difficult to face unpleasant sensation during meditation, because we are deeply attached to the body and identify it as me or mine. Uncomfortable sensations such as pain, pressure, or restlessness, and can trigger fear and resistance. The mind may interpret these sensations as threats, thinking that something is wrong or that harm might occur. From this, fear arises and we develop aversion. We dislike and try to avoid or escape the unpleasant experience. Now you may wonder what attitude we should have toward our families, friends, or relatives. What attitude uh, sh- we should have, uh, if not attachment. So instead of attachment, we should cultivate loving kindness, the sincere wish for their well-being, prosperity, and happiness. This kind of loving kindness is pure and does not give rise to sorrow or fear. Anyhow, so because of this attachment, she had devastating sorrow. So later, a wise man thought. We continue the story. Later, a wise man thought, "Oh, this woman has lost her sanity due to grief for her son. Only the Buddha can know the medicine for her." So he said to her, "Sister, go and ask the fully enlightened Buddha for medicine for your son." She went to the monastery at a time when the Buddha was teaching the Dhamma and said, "Venerable Sir, please give me medicine for my son." The Buddha, seeing her potential for understanding, said, Go into the city, go into the city and bring me a mustard seed from a house where no one has ever died." She replied, "Yes, Venerable Sir." And with a hopeful and joyful mind, thinking that, oh, there was medicine and her son would live again, she entered the city. She entered the city. At the first house, she said, the Buddha asks for a mustard seed as medicine for my son. If no one has ever died in this house, please give me a mustard seed. But the people replied, "Who here can count the dead? Who here can count the dead?" She then went to a second house and received the same answer. She went to a third house and again heard the same reply. Gradually, her madness faded and she regained her normal state of mind. Then, then she began to reflect. She began to reflect in the entire city. This must indeed be the universal law. This is what the Buddha has seen, and in order for me to realize it, he must have seen me to do this. Having understood this, she became deeply moved with a sense of spiritual urgency. Then she left the city and went to the charnel ground, taking her son in her arms. She said, "My dear child, I thought this death had happened only to you, but it is not yours alone. This is a universal law shared by all." Having spoken thus, she left the body of her child in the charnel ground and uttered this verse. Not, not the law of a village, not the law of a town, not is this the law of a single family, for the whole world, together with the devas. This alone is the law, that is impermanence. Having spoken thus, he went to the presence of the Buddha. Then the Buddha said to her, "Gautami, have you obtained the mustard seed?" She replied, Venerable Sir, the task with the mustard seed has been completed." Then she asked the Buddha, "Please grant me a refuge." In this way, she asked the Buddha to be her refuge. Then the Buddha spoke this verse from the Dhammapada. Just as a great flood sweeps away a sleeping village, so does death carry away a person whose mind is attached to children and possessions. At the end of the bus, standing right there was established in the fruit of stream entry. Then she requested ordination, and the Buddha granted her permission to go forth. At this point, I have heard and read that people with depression may feel as though negative events happen only to them or affect them more deeply than others. Often due to patterns of thinking that emphasize like personal blame or isolation. This can create the impression that they are uniquely unlucky or singled out, even when that isn't objectively the case. However, not everyone with depression thinks this way, and the intensity of these thoughts can vary widely. I'm just curious whether Kisa Gautami experienced something similar. This story shows how attachment, delusion, and sorrow can drive a person into a state of mental distress, even to the point of seeming madness. It also illustrates how, how when the truth is understood, one can gradually release attachment and sorrow, thereby freeing the mind from such suffering. Uh, one more one more point should be noted. You should not assume that Kisa Gautami became a stream enterer simply by listening to a Dhamma talk given by the Buddha. According to the Buddha's teaching, one does not become a noble disciple without practicing vipassana meditation. Without practicing vipassana meditation, although texts often state that a listener a listener became a noble one at the end of the discourse. This implies not just listening but also practicing inside meditation at that very moment, leading to liberation. So, when you reflect on that, pain starts to feel less threatening. It becomes just another impermanent condition, part of the process of having a body. Or you might think, oh, this pain too will pass. This pain too will pass. And one day, even this body will be gone. Let me face this moment with wisdom rather than fear or aversion. And definitely, contemplation of the date helps. Uh, it reduces clinging to the body, it reduces fear to discomfort, it strengthens mindfulness and insight. It reminds you to practice diligently, knowing life is short. However, however, it is not recommended to practice contemplation on the dead for those who experience strong fear, anxiety, or aversion toward the idea of death. We don't recommend them. I'm discussing the contemplation of the loathsomeness of the body and the truth of death in such a detail because they are two of the four garden meditation we call Chatu Araka Bhavana. Uh, These meditations are recommended to be practiced at least once a day, even if only for a few minutes, ideally around 5. Their purpose is to protect the mind from defilements like lust, anger, fear, delusion, and to help establish the right view and the proper attitude toward the body, life, and practice, or to guard the practitioner against the attacks of defilements. Apart from the two garden meditation, there are several other meaningful contemplation that can help re-energize the mind, rekindle effort, and protect against defilements such as aversion and laziness. And they are uh, contemplating the benefits of meditation. You may contemplate the benefits of meditation, or contemplating the benefits of effort itself, mm, contemplating the miserable realms of existence, places where one cannot hear the Dhamma, let alone practice meditation, contemplating how fortunate you are right now to have the opportunity to practice the excellent meditation, contemplating the benefits of patience and other wholesome qualities, uh, contemplating the suffering of aging and the suffering of illness, or contemplating the suffering you have already experienced in the past. Contemplating the suffering you have already experienced in the past, or the potential suffering you may experience in the future, and the suffering you are experiencing in your present life. You may contemplate the suffering you have already experienced, potential suffering you may experience in the future, and the suffering you are experiencing in your present life. In this way, there are many methods to strengthen your effort. You may choose any of them. You may choose any one of them. You do not need to contemplate all of them. You do not. However, select the one that gives you the strongest sense of urgency. I repeat, select the one that gives you the strongest sense of urgency. The stronger the sense of urgency, the greater the effort. And that is why you should select the one that gives you the strongest sense of urgency. The stronger the sense of urgency, the greater the effort. However, you should not spend long periods on contemplation. Limit it to about 5 minutes. Limit it to about 5 minutes. In addition, when you want to increase your effort during ordinary practice or while observing objects. Try to build momentum. Try to build momentum. Let each moment of effort connect with the next. Let each moment of effort connect with the next. Allow the preceding effort to support the succeeding one. Allow the preceding effort to support the succeeding one. Because when effort is continuous in this way, it naturally becomes stronger. It naturally becomes stronger. At the, at the very least, maintain a strong intention to increase your effort. Maintain a strong intention, desire to increase your intensity, increase your effort. Keep your mind inclined toward this aim. In one way or other, I will strengthen my effort. In one way or another, I will strengthen my effort. You may also remind yourself every morning, today I will apply stronger effort than yesterday. Today I will apply stronger effort than yesterday. Or simply, I will try harder than yesterday. At night before going to bed, reflect, tomorrow I will apply stronger effort than today. Tomorrow I will apply stronger effort than today, and I will try harder. Also, make an effort whenever you feel it is needed during your practice. So these are a few techniques to strengthen and sustain your effort, or to give rise to the second level of effort, that is boosting effort, uplifting effort, or suppressing effort. The initial effort alone is not sufficient in our practice. We need to develop the second level of effort, and this is what we are discussing, how to develop the second level of the effort. So may you all be able to increase your effort, understanding that this is the path. This is the path on which all the Buddhas, silent Buddhas, and the noble ones have walked to attain the ultimate Nibbana. As you walk this very path, recognizing your good fortune, may you practice diligently and attain Nibbana in the near future.